Hello and welcome to the Green Profit Academy Pros podcast. This show digs into the challenges in growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit. I'm Christine Era.
And I'm Steve Bousquet. We are the green industry experts in profit, growth, and leadership. Welcome, everyone. I want to welcome a guest today. We have John Huber, a longtime friend and of mine and a friend of the green industry. And I'm excited for today's show. I invited John. I think he has a lot to share. He has a lot of knowledge, and experience, like real life experience. And so I'm super excited that John's with us today. So John, introduce yourself a little bit.
Well, first of all, thanks, Steve, for having me on. I've been following this since you started doing these, and it's just, you're doing an incredible service for the industry. And I've always believed that sharing good information and helping others in the industry just makes the industry stronger. So
thank you.
As far as my whole career, this is my 40th year in the industry. And I've had my own turf management company. I worked in fertilizer manufacturing, and now I work for a distributor based up in New York, Central Turf and Irrigation Supply. And they hired me over 6 years ago to develop and formulate a organic-based enhanced efficiency fertilizer product line. So in January of 2019, we launched our Hudson Valley Natural product line. And the whole brand is focused on low environmental impact, sustainability programs, and providing training and support for our customers. I do a lot of that. I provide training and support for our sales team. We have what's called subject matter experts. So I get calls from guys all over the country. We've got 60 branches. We go as far west as Kansas. We go up into the Northeast and all the way down to the Panhandle of Florida, and a handful of branches in Canada. And, most of my customers have been with me for 15, 20 years or even more. I've known you for 20 plus years.
Yeah, we're working together for 20 plus years. And kind of like been through a lot of different seasons, dry seasons and wet seasons. And, we're trying to like always have the best approach and be profitable, but service the customer and have a product that's clean and not dusty, and have conversations about formulas and solutions and, managing deliveries and prices and expectations for customers with products. So, there's a fine balance between, performance and price. And so I think that, especially the product line you have now, that's really hit a sweet spot of the pricing and the performance. But, 20 years in the lawn care business and 40 years for you, 40 years, 42 years for me, we've seen a lot of like challenges. And you got to be a trooper and a warrior to stay in this industry.
100%. It's not for wussies.
It is not. Last year was a real challenge for everybody, especially in the Northeast, even in the Midwest, like the rain in July, and then the 90% humidity, and then the heat and the fungus, followed up by the 10 weeks of drought that we had. The phone calls were horrendous. And of course, we're to blame. Mother Nature never has any impact on anyone's lawn. I call it magic dragon thinking. People think that, our 5 or 6 visits a year, when we're there for 15 or 20 minutes, is going to fix everything. So, you have to live with that. That's just part of the business. But we do our best to work through that, educate and train people and help. So 40 years is quite a badge of honor to make it that far in this industry. And so kudos to both of us for that. So if you're listening to this, and you're in year 5 or year 10, I would love to tell you that it gets easier. I don't know if it gets easier. I think we just like get more realistic with our expectations.
Well, I think it can get easier if you are willing to change. And I'm not talking about changing what you're doing, but changing the way you think.
Yes. Mindset. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, so I'm the youngest of 11 children. And if I wanted anything for myself that wasn't hand-me-downs or bargain basket buys, I had to go out and earn my own money. So I had paper routes. I mowed lawns, did other things. I collected Coke bottles down by the river and got 3 cents a bottle, anything to get extra money. And I loved being outside. So my dad and my oldest brother were mechanical engineers. I tried to follow that path, but I really hated math. And the irony is I got into an industry where I pretty much crunch numbers every day.
Yeah, pretty much.
But my dad, he was a great teacher. And his lessons were always rooted in storytelling. And the greatest things he taught me were patience and persistence. And this is a mindset. Patience and persistence. And he would say it's omnipotent, which is all powerful. And his favorite thing to say was good food takes time. And I thought for years it was this pet peeve he had about burning stuff on the stove. And he always cooked his stuff on low heat, low and slow. That was it. And I was nearly an adult when I realized good food takes time was not just about cooking. It was about life.
Right.
And that goes into everything, your professional life, your personal life. So this lesson of patience was reoccurring. And when I started out in the industry, I was working at this upscale garden center. And we had this massive production house complex, and we grew everything from soup to nuts. And I had this boss, and he always told me it takes 4 to 5 years how to learn to water correctly. And if you think about it, we were growing everything, perennials, annuals, vegetables, starts, landscape, in all kinds of different medium, and, everything seasonal. And yeah, he was right. You had to be patient to learn all of that. And that was like my grasshopper stage in the industry. Right. Wax on, wax off. That was me. And standing there with a water wand and wondering why these plants aren't responding, or, I'm killing them. So, that lesson has stuck with me for 40 plus years.
Yeah. Things aren't events, right? It's that consistent effort that produces results over a long period of time. And persistence, patience, and persistence. Yeah. And I think one of the things when I'm coaching younger people is they're surprised how hard business is. Like they're a little shocked, like, because you got to deal with the customers, sales, marketing, employees, right? Vendors, weather, equipment. Like, name me one of those things that's easy. Right. And then our own mindset, like the struggle every day that we're so, you're in business. So you're a spouse, you're a parent, you're a business owner, your self-development, your spirituality, your health, right? And then you're a child. So you have parents, you have a family. So like none of that I just said is like, there's no easy button, any of it. And it's hard. So just admitting it right up front.
That it's very hard to prioritize that. But I had a customer once he was kind of a personal trainer and life coach. And he asked me one day, what are your priorities in life? And I rattled off a list, and he said, Well, that's good. You've got all the ingredients there, but your priorities are all screwed up. He says your number one priority is your health, because if you don't have your health, you can't do your job, and you're just going to be a burden on your family. Number two is your family. You got to take care of your family. If everything is good at home, then you're going to be more productive at work. And work is third. And it's a distant third at that. If you practice the first two things, the business part becomes so much easier. And he was right.
Yeah.
I went through some health scares, and now I'm healthier than I've been in 20 years.
Yes. Yeah. I know you've been struggling with it, and you've been working on it, and some serious stuff. Yeah. So,
and a lot of it is right up here. It's the mental work that you got to do.
Yes. It's the mental, it's the physical
challenge.
And right. So there's a physical and a mental health component to every day. So I was probably about 30 pounds heavier than I am right now. And a friend of mine who's a chiropractor and like really a health encourager, she said to me, Steve, a healthy man has 1,000 wishes, an unhealthy man has one. And I was like, oh man, that hit. So I really, over that next year, I lost like about 30 pounds, and it got all my numbers back in check. And I was like, okay, yeah, because I wasn't going to be around to enjoy my money, my family, my friends, my success or anything if I kept on that, 3 pound, 2 pound creep every year. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And, doing that one thing, granted you a long list of those wishes, those 1,000 wishes, doing that one thing.
Yeah. Right. One thing opened up 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the mental health is a big part of it, because we think we're supposed to figure all this stuff out. We're roughly about the same age. And we think, when you're younger, you think, I'll figure all this stuff out on my own, or I'll hold it in. I won't share it. I got this on my own. I'll just tough it out. Invincible. And it just doesn't, it doesn't get you very far. So, making sure that you're taking care of your physical and mental health, that is really when, getting the coaching, or the therapy or whatever, the group that you need, the help that you need, just allows you to be who you really are, and a healthy person for your family, your relationships. So you have those healthy relationships, your healthy body. So then you can be present with your family, your spouse, your kids, your parents, and your extended family, and also your community. Because, right, family is like, sometimes it might not be blood. Some of us are closer to people in our lives that are not direct relatives.
Absolutely.
So we can be there for them. Very, very important. Then we can go to work. Work is third, and we can show up at work and make the money and do the things and build the business that we want to do. So that was great advice that he shared with you and that you're sharing. And I agree with it. 100%. And some people will put the spiritual in there, they'll put God in there, or whatever religion or whatever they need to do, and I think that comes probably in with that health and spirituality and mental health.
That's a big part of it for me. And a lot of that comes down to making time for yourself, making time for you, and going to that place where you can feel that spirituality. For me, that's the ocean. I grew up surrounded by water. I love the ocean, but anything that's majestic, mountains, it's being there and being present there and reflecting and getting all the clutter out of your head. That's all part of the health priority right there. Number one, make time for you.
Yeah. And I think if you do that, you do the health in the family, you can work on it more, going back to that consistent effort. You don't have the burnout. You don't have the frustration, the exhaustion, and you can stay in the game longer, more consistently, and show up stronger for people in your life and in your company. I think that's how you make it 40 years.
100%.
I think that's the key. I think that's the patient persistence, is you're taking care of the body and the mind that gets you to that 40 years. Because if you're not doing that, you end up with all kinds of health issues, mental health issues, relationship issues that can create all other kind of health and challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then it all trickles down to where you get to the point where 90% of your time you're just putting out fires all day.
Yeah. Shows up in the business.
It shows up. Yeah. Stuff starts slipping through the cracks, and you don't treat people. You start treating people differently, whether it's your employees, your family, your kids, your customers. Nothing good ever comes out of that.
No, right. It becomes painful. Everything, your business, dealing with customers, dealing with hiring, dealing with employees, vendors, yourself. Yep. Toxic relationships. It's everywhere. It doesn't leave you no matter where you go. Yep. Yep. It's very interesting. So, I did a lot of work after I hit 50, and just living a more authentic life, just really focusing on just being myself instead of like trying to be who I thought people wanted me to be. And everything got easier, right? My business grew. I got more involved in the people that I needed in my life, and they got more involved with me. It just happened. I didn't ask for it. People who needed that authentic Steve showed up, and I could show up for them. But what happened, my health got better. My family relationships got better. My community relationships got better. My business grew. My turnover, my company evaporated, right? We went to 95% retention. My customer retention went up to 92% from 80. So it really goes back to these principles. And this is not what we originally were talking about on this podcast, but this is where we are. So it's like, if you can get your mind, body, and relationships healthy as an owner, it really shows up in the business.
Amen.
It really does. So taking care of yourself, really, it pays off in dollars and in growth in your business. So it's powerful stuff. It really is. And you don't have to look too far around our lives, right, to see people who are struggling with everything else, and you can have a conversation with them, and you can feel that their struggle or that toxic mindset in their language and in their energy. So
yeah, I would look at my son and his wife, prime example. They're just caught up in it, struggling, and you want to throw them a lifeline, and they just got to learn it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're just going to have to learn that. You can't force anybody.
No, you have to walk through your own fire path, right? You really do.
Sometimes multiple times.
Yeah, sometimes multiple times. You got to walk it on your own. Yeah. I mean, you really do. Sometimes it can take 20 or 30 years for sure. Yep. And it's interesting when you finally figure that out and you open your eyes, or your eyes get open to it. It's like the world changes in your eyes, but it goes back to what you said earlier. It's like, no, the world was always the same. It's us that changed. It's our
Yeah.
mindset that changed. We changed. We opened our eyes.
Yeah, it's no harder now than it was 40, 50 years ago.
Right.
It's the same challenges. And yeah, everything else has changed. Technology's changed. Exposure. There's more information now available to people at their fingertips than ever in history. Things are over sensationalized, and it becomes this big struggle that creates this big divide, and it consumes you. You get eaten up with it. But it's really no different than the struggles that we had 50 years ago, or the founders with the building this country that we have.
250 years. It's the same challenges. Yep.
There's always going to be war. There's
Yep.
always going to be battles. There's always going to be disagreement. And there's always going to be change. And change isn't always a good thing, but it's a necessary thing.
Yes, it is. Yep. And our mindset, how we choose to handle it and deal with it, is our own choice. Yep. And in Green Profit Academy, we use the choice map. We do a lot of mindset work around the choice map, and the Change Your Question, Change Your Life workbook and book that Marilee Adams wrote. And when we first started doing that, and when me and Christine went through our certification program, it was like, oh man, realizing how much we're responsible for all of our choices throughout the whole day, moment by moment, and how anything that we see on the news or read, like how we interpret it or how we feel about it, is we're choosing that. We're not a victim of it. It's a lot of responsibility. And if you claim it, it's powerful. If you continue to be the victim of it, it's just a miserable existence. Like the economy.
It can be a tool
to
help guide you, but you got to be able to weed through the weeds and connect the dots. And you can't do that by being lopsided or one-dimensional. You got to take it all in and see how it all ties together, and then make your own choices.
Yeah. Like the economy, right? There's only 5 outcomes for the economy. It either stays the way it is, it gets a little bit better or a lot better, or a little bit worse or a lot worse. There's only 5 outcomes. And how you choose to handle any of those 5 outcomes is up to you. And I will tell you, I'll give you firsthand knowledge. Bitching and moaning about it is not going to help us. It never helped me. Complaining and whining never helped me. So I just gave up on that, and I come up with plans for all of it.
Yeah. Well, I got to this point of acceptance where I was able to mentally say, it's out of my control. And anything that's out of my control, I can't dwell on it. I just focus on what's in my control. And the rest of it will either go away or it'll bother somebody else. But if there's nothing I can do, don't dwell on it. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's
we've got pollen here, so thick you can barely see the other side of the yard.
Oh yeah, you're down in Virginia. Yep, spring has sprung for you. We had 27 degrees last night here in Connecticut. It was cold. I mean, it is cold. I had frost. We had to do late starts because we had hard frost everywhere. So that's a little life experience sharing from a couple of old guys that made it through 40 years of the green industry. And we hope that you can take something from that, our sharing, and use that and make it through this, the 100 days of hell. So John, what did you learn about or during your time in the green industry that it surprised you or was unexpected?
Well, the industry is constantly changing, right? The players stay the same, but change is a guaranteed certainty. And after 40 years in the industry, I'm still learning. And heck, that's one of the things I love most about the industry. So what's changed is everything. The equipment, the fertilizers, the chemicals, the regulations, the decline in the dedicated service has changed the consumer. They aren't expecting great service like they did 40 years ago. When you provide great service today, it can be very powerful. And the trends have all changed. If you look at every industry, we have wild-caught seafood, we have grass-fed beef, we have pasture-raised chickens and eggs, we've got antibiotic-free, we've got electric vehicles, we've got all of these things. It encompasses everything from our food, the food we eat, the water we drink, the products that we buy, everything. So there's this dynamic paradigm shift that has occurred and is still taking shape. And as I said before, consumers have more information now right at their fingertips than ever before. And it's been drilled into their minds that they're going to have to pay more for healthier, environmentally friendly products and services. And I see this as an opportunity for landscapers to differentiate themselves from companies, their competition, help build their brand, and grow their business.
So what are the desires for consumers now? What are customers' desires? Like, not the benefits. What's their desire when they're buying lawn care? Like fertilizer, weed control. What do you think it is?
I think that hasn't changed much. They want to see instant results. They want to see green. They want to eliminate the weeds. And we have as an industry have failed to set the expectation that the perfect lawn does not exist. If you're comparing it to a golf course, that is so highly managed. You can't do that in 5 or 6 applications a year. Those guys are on those tees and greens every day doing something.
Yeah. So I offered a concierge package. I still offer it. No one's ever bought it. So it's $600 a month. And then we come by every week and we inspect the lawn and we'll apply whatever it needs. And we charge you for that for each application. That will give you that almost perfect lawn, near perfect lawn.
Yeah.
And no one has bought that program, but it's available. And I don't know how much it would cost because, it depends on how many applications we would end up doing. But if you do want that near perfect lawn, that's how much it would be. So that want in reality of the cost, 5 or 6 applications is not going to do it. But even the golf courses are not perfect, because if they're watching on television, the PGA sends their own crew there first on top of the golf course. So they do a little, there's a little, TV magic that goes on for those tournaments. There's a lot of turf paint and a lot of, they're only showing you camera shots that make that course look really nice. So yeah, it's a fantasy. I call it Magic Dragon thinking, right? It's Game of Thrones and it's fantasy thinking. It's just not real. What's that?
Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's everyone's a supermodel. Every lawn's a, PGA golf tour for 6 applications. It's just not real. Yeah. So a lot of changes in the green industry, but the desire is the same, that instant green grass. And again, it's not an event. They think it's an event. And it's really that consistent effort produces results. So it's over time. And we tell our customers, it's going to take 2 to 3 years. We got to get your pH right. We got to get that fats out of the ground. We got to get some organic matter. We got to get some carbon down. We got to get some like necromass built up from the roots dying off and building up some healthier soil for you. So definitely it takes time. They don't want to hear that. Even in the products, the Jackpot, that 1704 that you guys sell, and I'm a huge fan of, people go, oh, I did an application and it looked good for a while, but then I didn't really see any changes, after like 10 or 12 weeks. It's like, well, they did one application. It's like going to the gym for one time or 1 week, or eating I ate 2 salads this week. Nothing changed. Like, you have to do it consistently, that consistent effort. And it's, that magic dragon thinking is just so it's detrimental really, to whatever we apply it to. So lawns is definitely, you got to stick with it. You got to do the reseeding and get your lime and get your pH and your calcium up there for sure. So we're always communicating that to people. We always educate a level of disappointment because, when you overpromise this perfect green, picture perfect lawn, we always have these marketing people. Oh, we're going to send you a mock-up, and they'll be picture perfect weed-free lawn. I'm like, I don't know what company is going to put that on their postcard, but we're not going to do that.
Core Growth Strategies provides business growth management solutions through cloud accounting, bookkeeping, and strategic business consulting programs. Our team works with small businesses in lawn care and landscape and trade industries throughout the U.S. We increase our clients' business acumen by creating business performance transparency through financials and strategic advisement based on industry best practices and benchmarks. Our experienced team provides support, guidance, and coaching, thereby allowing our clients to connect with viable data and discover their own solutions. Core Growth Strategies programs and services are designed to get your business from where it is now to where you have always dreamed it to be. Visit us today at coregrowthstrategies.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Don't miss our exclusive limited time podcast special. Just mention promo code GPA Pro to any member of our team during your complimentary consultation, or enter the promo code on our site when you sign up for one of our online programs. That's promo code GPA Pro.
Well, that's one of the failures of the industry, is that we're trying to sell something that we can't deliver. We're not setting the expectation, and you end up not providing top quality service, and you keep participating in this race to the bottom to buy the cheapest thing that you could put out there and get results. And you're not looking at the soils. You're learning this stuff. You're attending classes. You're reading things. It's constantly coming into your inbox. And you know that there's something to this. It's science. It's not snake oil. So, but you can't figure out how to get there. You can't figure out how to do it. And what you don't realize is that you're leaving money on the table operating the way you're doing, and you're not helping yourself. You're just,
or the customer, or the industry, because you're making promises that the industry no one can deliver on.
You're making the industry weaker.
Yep.
So if we look at the industry, it's so fragmented. All the markets are so fragmented. And you got to look at the one common thread that connects us all. And that is science. So a prime example of other industries that are connected to us, if you look at the waste industry, this is a prime example. our national waste disposal program is broken. The lawsuits are piling up in many states. And, if you look at the waste itself, if it's processed, it has a monumental agronomic value to it. It's more efficient. And if we can just find a better way to tap into that, it solves a lot of problems. Now, I've got some ideas. If you got another couple hours, I'd love to talk to you about those. But basically, we've got to make it easier for people to get out of that hole. And it could be a combination of incentives or rebates where, you're buying into a program and, we have all of these things, but it's just fractured everywhere. Everybody has their own rebate program. They have their own rewards points program. They have their own incentives. But I think everybody needs to be involved, and it's got to be a community thing because every region has a different set of challenges that they need to solve. And the industry, whether it likes it or not, is directly tied to the waste industry. And we can be a big solution for that problem if we can lead people and show them how simple it is to get there. They can be more efficient. They can simplify and streamline their programs and their operations, get better results, and really embrace the science instead of just throwing the cheapest bag of stuff down that they can. We keep doing that, we're going to continue to get regulated. Maybe not during this administration. We're going in the other direction, but these regulations, they're moving. They are stymieing. They have stymied growth and progress in a lot of states, and it's expanding, and it's going to get more difficult and more difficult. And hell, I might be sitting here in 5 or 10 years saying, Steve, I got a bag of 000 that I can sell you, but that's about all I have.
Imagine that. Yeah. That would be tough. Yeah. I know everyone's pushing back at it, but hopefully there'll be some common sense. And I meet with our legislators here in Connecticut a couple times a year, and we have a couple really strong CTEC in Connecticut, the groundskeepers, and the Connecticut Nursery Landscape. We have lobbyists, that really watch these the bills to help protect us and be reasonable with the neonicotinoids and the fertilizer and the phosphorus and everything. So, but other communities I know down in Maryland, they had these bans. People didn't realize what a pesticide actually was when they banned it, that crabgrass was something that a pesticide controlled. They were only thinking insecticides. They thought it was only for farms. And they did not understand that their dandelion needed a pesticide to kill it. So in that county that they did that, I have a couple of friends that have lawn care businesses down there, and they were impacted by it. And then, people started doing applications to treat it, and there's no enforcement of that. So they passed the bill that people were like, oh, we didn't understand the bill. We didn't understand what that law actually meant. And then, so now people just do stuff and, so now you have people running around illegally doing applications who shouldn't be doing it. My friends are not, they just stopped servicing that county. But you have lawn mowing guys down there doing applications, or people who are not licensed doing it for the homeowners, and the homeowners are doing it. And so that's the worst thing, because not measuring, weighing, counting, calibrating. And so you had an unintentional consequence of something that was supposed to be good turned into something horrible.
Yeah. Well, less is more. And it's up to us, guys like you and I, to go out and demonstrate that and help people take them to that. I'm probably one of the only guys in the industry that works very hard to sell you less of my product because you don't need it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We're trying to get as minimal amount of fertilizer that we need down, pounds of nitrogen. We want to stabilize it. We want to get just what the plant needs, just what the lawn needs, not pound it and pound it and pound it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, if you're taking care of the soil, you don't need to put all that down. And how much is that makes it into the plant anyway? You're putting urea down at a pound per thousand. 25% of that makes it into the plant. Where's the rest of it go?
Right.
It starts out as a gas.
Yep.
And then they turn it into a liquid, and then they form those prills. So when you put it down, it's going to start the process to revert back to a gas. So first it's going to liquefy, and you're going to have runoff because the plant can only take up but so much at any given time. And once it takes up that quarter pound of nitrogen, that's it. The rest is just sitting there, and it releases, and then it goes, and then it eventually volatilizes and becomes a gas, and it's gone. So you're spending money on something that is never going to benefit the plant.
Yeah. And
so
I think most people may not realize the two biggest pollutants actually from lawns are over-nitrification, right? That nitrogen leaching. And then the other one is bare soil runoff.
Bare soil.
I mean, you can watch that bare soil run into these drains, right? Storm drains down into these creeks, ends up down in, we have Long Island Sound, down to the Thames River. Bare soil is a really bad pollutant into storm drains, and nitrification is another one. So, anything for us, I mean, we're at 3.25 pounds of N over 5 applications, I think. So, anything over that, our lawns don't need. We'll still have the greenest lawns on the street the whole year, even at that rate. And I think actually we might be down to 2.5 pounds of N on if the customer's been on the program over 3 years. We'll even go down lower just because they don't need it. But initially, if they have not been on a program, we'll go a little bit higher to help eat up some of that thatch and get some necromass going in the soil. But it just doesn't need that much nitrogen. I think last year in round 4, so that's for us maybe the middle of August until the beginning of October, because we were in a drought, we put 1/4 pound down of N. And, we're cool season, bluegrass, fine fescue, and rye, mostly. Some tall fescues. But with no rain, we didn't have rain. We had 2 inches of rain over 10 weeks in the fall. It just didn't need the fertilizer. So you got to pay attention to what you're doing there for sure. So tell us a little bit about your products that your main products that you're selling now, John.
Well, our focus is on recycled waste of fertilizers. So we use a lot of biosolids. We use a lot of composted poultry manure. We're getting more and more into other things, coffee waste, which is very high in carbon. And if you were just to take those materials by themselves and try to do it that way, it's going to be ineffective because you've got to have a balanced carbon to nitrogen ratio. And if you're not applying carbon, your fertilizers are inefficient. If you're over applying the carbon, then the nitrogen becomes immobilized. So I ask guys that are 100% organic all the time, are your lawns as green as your competition? And the answer is always no, not quite. Well, you're over applying, they're putting corn gluten meal down at 30 pounds per 1,000 square feet.
Oh, how much nitrogen is that? That's a ton of nitrogen.
Well, it's a ton of carbon. It's way, the carbon to nitrogen ratio, that's okay if you're out in an ancient forest where the carbon to nitrogen ratio is like a 20-to-1, but on a lawn, you got to have that balance where the nitrogen becomes immobilized. So there's a benchmark for how much organic matter you need to be applying. And when you take a soil test and they're testing organic matter, they're not focusing on what portion of that organic matter is viable. And what I mean by viable is that soil microbiology going to colonize to that and feed on it? And the answer is no. You've got fats, waxes, lignins, cellulose, the stuff that doesn't break down and forms a hygroscopic or a hydrophobic muck. And golf course superintendents hate the word organic because they got to battle this all the time. What you're looking to do is put down fresh additions of carbohydrates and proteins. And that's what we find in these wastes in abundance. And when you mix those with conventional fertilizer materials, you create an enhanced efficiency fertilizer. Number one, you've got multiple nitrogen sources that all release at varied rates across a 12-week window. So as that plant has the ability to take in more nitrogen, the next source of nitrogen is starting to release. So there's quick release in there on the front end. I like ammonium sulfate and urea together. I think it's just a much more intense green than either one on its own. And just a quarter pound just to get that plant, and it kicks it. And it triggers the plant's mechanism for uptake, that little bit of nitrogen. And it takes in all of the other stuff that you're putting down, your simple organic compounds, your acids, your humic fulvic acid, all of these things that are beneficial to the plant from the organic matter that's in those conventional fertilizers. So our number one product, Jackpot, is 95% efficient. 95% of that nitrogen gets into the plant. There's 5 sources of nitrogen in there. And that's how it does it. It's plain and simple. Plus, you've got the soil biology working for you. You fired it up, you've given it a food source. So now that's working to break down and convert more of those nutrients into a plant available form. So even stuff that's locked up in the soil, like a lot of the whole nation, you got things locked up in the soil. Some areas it's phosphorus, some areas it's iron. Well, those microbes will break that down and convert it so the plant can take it up. And we're banning things like we're banning phosphorus, just banning it across the board. It's an essential macronutrient for plant health. And you've got to have it in there or the soils get depleted. And with phosphorus, that's big one for your roots, your root development. And what happens is you have erosion. So you have all these phosphates locked up in the soil, and all of a sudden the soil starts eroding into the waterways. Then that phosphorus releases and you got algae bloom. Big problem. Yeah. So all of these wastes have phosphorus, but it's minute. And some states have exceptions for the organic matter phosphorus. Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, I think out in Michigan, they have exceptions for composted poultry manure. Biosolids, not so much. And biosolids is more of an ick factor. And now you've got, in the news, every day I'm seeing forever chemicals and microplastics. And that stuff is in everything.
Yeah, microplastics.
It's in our food.
They're finding it everywhere. It's in our bodies. They're finding it
in our rainwater.
Yeah.
They're finding microplastics are causing a lot of artery clogs in stroke victims.
Everywhere.
Like 50% of the clog is
they're finding
microplastics.
Everywhere. So that 1704, it's called Jackpot. That's our main granular fertilizer that we use. We also do a couple of liquid applications a year, but that 1704, we bought a lawn care company, and they were using polysulfur coat fertilizer for years. So all the lawns had about an inch of thatch, and we went in with that 1704, and within a year, the thatch was gone. So all of that microbial action, along with the food sources, ate that thatch up, and the people were like amazed. So no dethatching is necessary. We tell people leave the lawn alone. You don't need to do that. The microbes and the food will do that. So it is a great product. We love that product. Also, we use a 705.
Jackpot Flex.
Yeah, Jackpot Flex. So the lawns that have been on the program for a really long time, we use that product on rounds 2 and 4 when they don't need a lot of nitrogen. We don't want to pop them when they're just coming out of dormancy in the fall, and we don't pop them going into the summer. They just don't need that much nitrogen. They're doing just fine. So that's a great product. And we also use the starter fertilizer that you make too. And so tell us also about the water-soluble organic product.
The soluble soil inoculant was created by this guy. He's one of the most brilliant guys and visionaries in the industry. And I don't think he sleeps. His mind is constantly going. And every time I talk to him, he just blows my mind. So he's made a product that nobody else has. And the whole premise of it is that if you look at soils, it's kind of like your intestines, your body. Beneficial microbes in your body are a big deal. That's why, probiotics has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. I take them. I take the ones that this guy designed for this doctor, and I take less than half of what I used to take from the store-bought brands, and I get better results out of it. But your gut bacteria, your soil is the same thing. It's an ecosystem, and there's a cycle in there. So if you take that scientific approach to your soil, and then you look at all of the things, like if you put probiotics, if you take a probiotic, it's got to go through your stomach acid, all these enzymes that break things down. By the time it gets to your large intestine, it's been obliterated. And when you look at the store-bought brands, a lot of it is lactobacillus, which is geared towards breaking down dairy products. It's for lactose intolerant people. That's what the big thing is in the marketplace. Well, what if you eat a steak? What if you're eating some peanuts? What if anything? It's different bacteria and fungi breaking down, being attracted to and colonizing and breaking down different material. So what Key Input Solutions has done with our BioMD is they're using 34,000 strains of beneficial microbes, and they're providing a food source, and they're providing a soil penetrant. So the whole idea, it's the kitchen sink. It's kind of like you don't want to use a monoculture grass seed. You want to have a blend of seeds because one species makes their strong points make up for the other's weaknesses. So when you look at soils, you have indigenous microbes that have already adapted to that environment, and they're strong. They can live in those conditions. And when you introduce microbes, foreign microbes into that soil, there's a war. A war breaks out. They're killing each other. They're driving each other out, and only the strong survive. So if you have 5 microbe strains in a jug of water that is 99% water, what's that going to do for you? It's not going to do a whole lot for you. Yeah, you're putting some sugars in there, so you're going to get a response, most of that's coming from your indigenous soil microbes. They're gonna come feed on that sugar. Yeah, they love it. And that's a short term, and then it's gone. So this product, not only are you not having to ship 99% water all over the country, everything in a 16-ounce pouch has value. Everything in that soluble powder has value. It's got humic acid, fulvic acid, amino acid. We've got kelp in there. We've got honey powder. That's our sweetener. The yucca extract. Yep. It's a surfactant. It's a spreader sticker. It helps with foliar feeding. It helps penetrate into the soil. And then you got these 34,000 strains of microbes, and you have mycorrhiza. And the mycorrhiza they call it the root juju. Nobody else has this mix of root juju in there. And I did a study on seed germination with this stuff and got a 50% reduction in seed requirement just by putting this BioMD on my seed starter. And I did that versus an 1824-12, which is the most popular starter in the industry. And then I even did a plot with just a 10-10-10, and I put it out at 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet. And I got a 50% seed reduction versus 10-10-10 without microbes on it. It's very powerful. And look, they've got microbes now that break down microplastics. They break down forever chemicals. They eat cars. I mean, Stephen is talking to me about, he's got microbes that eat cars.
Yeah.
And, 5-6 years ago, I would have told you, hey, we have surpassed sustainability on this planet as the human race. Because if you look at the population trajectory, we're going to be at 10 billion people by 2050. When you and I were born, Steve, there was 3 billion people. You go back 2,000 years, there was 500 million people. So it took 2,000 years to go from 500 million to 3 billion, but it only took 60 years to go from 3 billion to 8. We've got over 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And think all the chickens and the livestock and all the waste that comes with that. We're all flushing our toilets. I mean, if we don't solve these problems, we're going to be saying, hey, Elon, can you blast our waste off up there into outer space and dump it somewhere for us? But these microbes and algae, I got this article, stuff just comes into my news feed.
Yeah.
They have discovered this. It's called a nitroplast. You can look it up. Nitroplast. They've isolated this algae that is a natural nitrification. It fixes the nitrogen. And they're saying this is like the holy grail of biotechnology discoveries. The holy grail. One of the holy grails. And it's going to change agriculture. It's going to change the green industry.
The algae. Yeah.
So,
yeah, and
5 or 6 years ago,
a product like that a couple times for testing, and we definitely got a good response. So the BioMD, I've used that product. I've tested on just it by itself for the grass seed, and it definitely alone, we got more germination with that than the fertilizer. Just using the BioMD alone than we did with fertilizer. Actually, we got more germination with the BioMD alone than with the BioMD with fertilizer. I don't know why. That's what the test showed. So, and then somebody else did a similar test. They got the same results. They don't know why either. So we're going to run another test. So
there's so many things that factor into that.
A month later, though, the growth was better with the BioMD and fertilizer for both my test and his test. So neither one of us can figure out exactly why that was, but we both saw the same results. So it caught up in a hurry, and it definitely had more growth and root development. But as far as germination,
this was during a drought.
Well, we were both running in small containers. We were both doing plants.
Okay.
We were running in pots with water. So yeah. So it was interesting. But I also have done big applications with the BioMD on large properties. And it definitely gives a good result, especially when you combine it with the 1704 or the 705. When you combine it with the other organic materials, you get a better response. All right, we're going to wrap this up, John. I want to thank you very much. What do you want to be known for in the industry, John?
I want to be known for being reliable. I pride myself on doing what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. And when things get out of my control and things go wrong, what do I do to fix that and make it right with my customer? And I fight like hell every day for my customers to make things right. When things go wrong, I'll go to my superiors, and I always put my customer first, and they know this about me. The other thing, and I'm already known for this, I'm very passionate about this. I'm super passionate about what I do, and I don't care about the money. Anybody who gets in this industry thinking they're going to get rich, you're in for a tough lesson, man. I love this. I love talking to Steve. I love talking to you. I love talking to guys all over the country, just like you, who get it. They get the science behind it. They're passionate about it. They love to learn. They're students. They're perpetually a student. And my passion is already, that's like what I'm known for everywhere I go.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, John. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we look forward to you joining us on the next podcast.
Thank you, Steve. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Green Profit Academy Pros Podcast,
the show that digs into the challenges of growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit.